proposed, it should bring a proposed.
Everybody catch that? Mark, did you catch that? You don't have it on the screen yet.
You see it, Paul? That's right. That's what I thought it said. Yeah. Oh.
It's got the captors.
I had a copy of it, and I don't know where it went, and now there's no more copies out there. Okay, so everybody catch the correction that Brian had made, the typo we had?
Might repeat that, I didn't have my sheet out. There's two
The-
ampersands on the last further resolved, mark out one of them. Okay.
Should be and bring a proposed resolution. Is that what it's supposed to read? Okay. All right, so this is on the table currently. We need a motion to remove it from the table, bring it back to the floor. So moved by Brian Mundy. Do I have a second? Seconded. Do you want to speak to this? No.
This is just to bring it off the table.
Just to bring it off the table, yep. Do we need to vote to bring it off the table? Okay. Any discussion on bringing it off the table? Show of hands to approve. Any opposed? Seeing no opposition online, okay. It's on the floor. Brian?
Okay, I want to point out a couple things on this that are not in any of the other resolutions that are being presented. And
Brian, can you get closer to the mic?
get closer to the mic. Okay. Can you hear me better now? Okay. The two things that I really want to make sure that we are very clear on when we're talking about this part of the resolution, that I want to make sure that does not get missed, and it has not been brought up at all in our discussions. And I don't want it to get overlooked, because to me it's the most important thing about this. And one is the first paragraph. The following is provided to assist us in making a commitment to God that we choose to come together to be one with Him and with each other, and that His work and His kingdom here on this earth are our priorities. We mutually pledge to each other as individuals and branches our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. This, to me, is probably the most important thing that we could do as a body. If we threw all the rest of this out and we could all just make this commitment to each other and to the church at large, then I would highly be in favor of that. And then if you go over to the second part, item 10, and the first resolve, to my knowledge, has never been dealt with in 30 plus years of the conference. Number 10 says, section 83, 8A, these were all our acknowledgments. And I said at the beginning there that each of the following acknowledgments are to be modified and or approved individually. So it wasn't just lumped together and we just say, oh yeah, and then we don't remember what we were agreeing to. Well, item number 10 is there, has the scripture It says, "And your minds in times past have been darkened because of unbelief, because you have treated lightly the things you have received, which vanity and unbelief have brought the whole church under condemnation," and that we acknowledge that. So the first resolve says, "Therefore be it resolved that we as a unified organization," unified because we've already said that we are pledging ourselves to each other, "a unified organization hereby repent and remember the new covenant, even the Book of Mormon, and the former commandments which he gave us, not only to say, but to do according to which he has written, that we may bring forth fruit, meet for our Father's kingdom." That is the scripture 8b, modified just a little bit, that makes it personal with us. And so that I want to make sure that those areas are understood, that it isn't just something we are going to raise our hands, yeses or nos, or if you want to go with a different resolution, I would like to see those things somehow or another put to it, because this is extremely important. And lastly, when I was praying and thinking about names, and we've had conversation in our quorum about just changing names and everything like Cracker Barrel did or other things, we're not just changing a name. We are saying that we are going to come together as a unified body, and we are committing to each other, and we are joining together as a unified body. And so I thought, what could be the name? We all recognize that we are part of the Church of Jesus Christ. There should not be anybody here that would deny that we are part of the Church of Jesus Christ. Now, we are elders or members or whatever, but we are expanding this to be the branches. We are bringing branches together. And so I felt directed that it should be Restoration Branches of the Church of Jesus Christ. That is the organization that is meeting. However, if that causes problems with anybody, I said this to our quorum, if you wanted to add Association of Restoration Branches of the church, but anyway, I just feel like this is direct as to what we are doing and where we are going. And I personally would like to have the structure in there, but we weren't going to get to that point. It was very evident we were not going to be able to get to that point and agree on all of the structure. I don't mind if we have another conference in 3 months. If we could do something and bring things together. I remember in 1851, they met together. They had, what, Richard, 3 or 4 conferences in a short period of time like that. And so if we've got to have more than just wait for a whole nother year, I'm more in favor of doing whatever. But this should be something that we could agree upon.
Thank you, Brian. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to this? Brother Jay?
I don't disagree with everything that Brother Brian has said and has emphasized, but I will say that I know Quorum 1 has struggled with this idea of Restoration Branches of the Church of Jesus Christ, and I understand the reasoning that Brian has given. However, if that makes sense of us here, I'm not sure it's going to read across the branches. It's too similar to other names of other factions within the church, and I'm afraid that saints are going to be confused. I would just suggest that we come up with some other name other than what's here.
Thank you, Brother Jay. Dad? Brother Dad?
Yes, Chairman Son. I don't know if this is going to be an amendment or a proposed change, but I think we need to make a grammatical change.
Pull it down.
I think we need to make a grammatical change to the last, be it further resolved, because the way we have it written now is not a proper sentence. So I think it should read, be it further resolved that the structure of the organization be reviewed by the coordinating council, replacing that ampersand with which will, and then continue with bring a proposed resolution to the next. I think the word member should be struck, conference for discussion, modifications, and approval. Now, is that an amendment or is that a?
If you move it so, then it's an amendment. We need a motion to amend it.
Well, if we're making an amendment, I have more amendments.
How about we handle one at a time?
Okay. I would like to propose that amendment.
So we have a proposed amendment, which says that this will be read be it further resolved that the structure of the organization be reviewed by the coordinating council, which will bring a proposed resolution to the next conference for discussion, modifications, and approval. Is that right?
That's what I have.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay, do we have discussion? I'm sorry?
Just got a question for him. Why do we take out members?
Ask why we take out members.
That's part of my other amendment.
Any other discussion? Brother Brian?
Well, I don't have a problem with changing any of that except the members. And so I would move to amend the amendment to strike the, to add members back in.
So we have amendment for the amendment on the floor to unstrike members. Do we have a second? Second. So seconded. Any discussion? Yes. Brother Jay?
Well, the simple point is we don't have a members' conference. How are we going to bring back ideas to a conference that doesn't exist?
Brother Brian?
This was what was discussed yesterday and almost unanimously agreed upon, if not, even though we didn't take a vote. This is the whole purpose of this here, is talking about the restructure, and that the conferences in the future would be made up of members and not just elders. So I don't, if this resolution fails, then, but maybe if he's got another amendment that should have been done first to understand that part of it. But right now, this is all structured to have an open conference, and so it would be a members' conference.
So then we remove next because we don't have a members' conference now.
Any other discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Everybody understand where we're at? We have an amendment to the amendment to add members back into the amendment. Brother Doug? And then Dale, why don't you go ahead and come up here?
I think we're getting wrapped up in Robert's rules here. I think we need to have the discussion about whether, with the group that's here now, what we think about having the next conference be a members' conference. Then that, I mean, we can vote yes, put it back in, but then if we're not going to have a members' conference, then we have to vote to take it back out again. And so, I mean, I think the core of the matter is are we looking to have our next Conference of Restoration Elders be a conference that everyone is, and by everyone, we need to have that discussion too about who is everyone, how do we decide who is the everyone who's going to be a part of that conference. So are we willing, or is that what we're, I just think we need to get back to basics because we're going to be wrapped up in these amendments, and none of them are make any sense if we don't, if our intent is not to have it open, then it doesn't make any sense. If our intent is to have it open, then it makes sense. But we may need to take a step back. I don't know.
Dale?
Well, Mike made mention of the fact that he had another amendment which would address that. At least I'd like to hear what that was before we get too carried away. Yeah. I just said Mike mentioned when he was talking that he had another amendment or another paragraph to add or something that would address the fact that one member was taken out of it. I said it would be nice just to hear that before we continue this discussion.
If there's no objections, can we hear what the other amendment would be to give some more context? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, the other amendment has nothing to do with this clause. But in answer to what's been said already, the structure has been left to the coordinating council. Maybe the definition of members could also be left to that same body.
Okay, thank you. So we have an amendment on the floor. Do we have any more discussion on that amendment? And that amendment is to add members back in. Seeing none, we're ready to vote on the amendment to the amendment. All in favor?
And a yes vote is to put members back.
A yes vote puts members back into this paragraph. So all in favor? Keep them up so we can count them. Okay, I have everybody here. Waiting for the no votes online. All opposed? Motion carries on a 13-5 vote. Yes, come to the mic.
We took a vote, and I could tell people weren't voting. I don't know that they're prepared to do what we just did. I think we've gotten ourselves in a situation where we're considering something where, for example, there was one whole quorum that had gone a different direction on the first resolution, which now is not being discussed. But so what I'm calling for is a division in the House so that we see how many people are actually voting. If there are more than but if they're not voting, then we have another question we have to deal with, because if a lot of the people did not vote, that's not a good way to make a decision.
So you're asking to
Have a division of the House to see, so we can see the numbers. I'm not questioning that fact, and vote how you want, but let's.
What we're talking about here is that amendment to the amendment.
just adding members back in.
How many people are voting? Because a lot of people
Okay.
did not vote. Or at least some of the ones I've.
So it'd be a show of hands to how many voted for the amendment. For or against, total votes. Is that what you wanted? We want to know how many people actually voted.
Was it a good representation of this body?
Yeah, how many people actually voted? Raise your hands. For or against. We're not voting right now. We're just seeing how many voted and how many did not vote. Yeah. So there's about 6 or 7 that did not vote.
I didn't vote because I didn't quite understand exactly
Okay.
where we were going.
So there were about 7 that I did not see hands up that voted or did not vote. Richard.
Well, okay, I just wanted to see the information to make sure that we had it.
Which would not have made the difference if they had voted against the amendment. Okay, so that motion or that amendment passed and members is back in the original amendment. Okay, so now we have to deal with that amendment that reads, be it further resolved that the structure of the organization be reviewed by the coordinating council, which will bring a proposed resolution to the next members' conference for discussion, modifications, and approval. That's what we're voting on, adding in which will. Everybody clear on what it is? Okay. Do we have any discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Seeing no opposition, the amendment carries. Now, you said you had another amendment? Okay. Yeah.
I would like to propose the following amendment. The third from the last, be it further resolved, where there's a proposed name of this organization, I would amend that we strike that whole paragraph.
So you move that's the motion to amend.
My
that?
motion to amend to remove that paragraph from the resolution.
Do we have a second? So the motion is to remove the paragraph that deals with the name. Do we have a second? Motion fails for lack of second. Any other discussion? Brother Bim?
This resolution's challenging for me for a number of reasons. Certainly not because of the intent and sentiment that our good brother has shared and a desire for us to be one and committed. It's a challenge to combine purposes within one resolution that have different outcomes and intents in some ways from my perspective. You know, to mutually pledge to each other what it is we are willing to do in relation to the work of the kingdom, I think is a good thing for us to do, but I don't know if that is a good thing to do in relation to trying to come up with an organizational change. It also includes branches in that mutual pledge. I cannot pledge for my branch these particular things. It also requires us to spend time on each one of these acknowledges to say, do we agree with it or do we want to change it, and what does that mean? The time involved in that would be significant. The acknowledge of the purpose of the conference is incomplete. It left off the very first one that is identified, which is to have an organization of Melchizedek priesthood and Aaronic for those purposes that were identified, which has really been part of the issues that we've been dealing with. That made it an elders conference, but it's not listed there as one of the 5 purposes that we had. The resolves, again, I'm not opposed to saying that future conferences of this organization be open to members. The idea of recognized branches is vague. And so I have some real concerns with how this is phrased and what it says not necessarily with the final intent, which is to bind ourselves in covenant to the work of the kingdom, and also to have this conference be an organization which is more engaged and representative of those within the body. But I don't think this is the vehicle. And so I could certainly spend time trying to amend all of this. In the end, I think my amendment would come to keeping, be it further resolved, that future conferences of this organization will no longer be focused on the first purpose, which is to gather the elders for those 4 purposes, and that it be open to all members of restoration branches, whatever that means. We'd have to define that. Or I could substitute the other motion, and I'm not sure which is the best or the easiest to do at this point. So I struggle with that, and I need to do something here to make it an actionable item. And so to move that one piece, I think what I'll do is go ahead and amend it to, and I apologize, brother, I understand the intent, and I'm with you on wanting to commit to one another, but I don't think this is the way to achieve it, that we amend this to read that the purposes of the conference being those 5 things, that we would remove that first purpose, and I can read those if you want, but everybody has it in the first resolution from Quorum 3. So that very first item, organize the coming together of Melchizedek priesthood as well as Aaronic priesthood for the purposes of those things, that be not the focus of our function of our organization any longer, and that instead we would keep those other 4, and also be it further resolved that all future conferences of this organization be opened to all members of, and again, I'm not sure what recognized branches meant either, but I would say branches from restoration branches unaffiliated with organizations who have gone beyond. And I think that wording is in the other one as well. Not affiliated with any organization operating beyond the branch level. So I know that's clear as mud, and if there's a second, I could speak to it more, but I think I've already spoken to it enough.
Can we restate, because I was lost on the first part of your amendment. I don't know what you're talking about, and I'm probably not the only one.
Okay, that we, going back to item 7, that we recognize that the purposes of the Conference of Restoration have been those 5, so we add number 1 in there, and that we will no longer have that first one as a primary function of the organization.
The first one, to support restoration branches in their efforts to work together.
No, to organize the coming together of the Melchizedek priesthood as well as Aaronic priesthood members for the purposes of. Yeah, I'm just reading it there because in this one, the first one is not included.
So you're wanting to include the actual first one?
Yeah, because I think
I see. I'm
it's
with you
already
now.
taken out, but I think we need to be explicit in saying that's the function we're taking out right now, because that's the function that organized us as an elders conference.
So your amendment would add that in, but explain that it's no longer going to be.
This is too confusing. I'll just move the substitute motion, and we
And maybe I'm the only one confused, but
So we acknowledge that there is four purposes, there's four purposes of the Conference of Restoration Elders, which is actually five.
So it says 4 of the purposes. So it's not listing all, it just says 4 of the purposes are.
Yeah, and that first one, I think we need to include there for what I'm intending to do.
Okay.
And
So your amendment would add that into this
that there are
resolution.
5 purposes of the Conference of Restoration Elders. Be resolved that we no longer are function number 1, essentially, and you could use we can use the wording in 3, in that other thing, and then be further resolved that all future conferences of this organization be opened up to all member branches.
Okay, so you want that to read, we acknowledge that there are 5 purposes of the Conference of Restoration Elders.
Which there are, right?
Okay, that's what you want that to say. Okay. And then adding number 1 back in, or taking number 1 and putting it back in the resolve. And then in the resolve, we remove it. So the whereas will have that added back in.
Right, so it's clear what we're doing.
It's clear to me now.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to amend this so that number 7 reads, we acknowledge that there are 5 purposes for the Conference of Restoration Elders.
Yeah.
Correct?
And
And then we need to add number 1 back in from the original purposes of the, okay, which reads, organize the coming together of Melchizedek priesthood as well as Aaronic priesthood and members for the purpose of, in all 4 bullet points there.
Well, those are stated already.
Okay.
If in the first thing, that those purposes remain, we've removed 1. For those functions, I'm not following you now.
So, on the original resolution, there are 4 subpoints. You want all 4 of them to be included in.
Yes, so we're going to remove 1, but so.
gotta state one
Yeah. So we're going to remove it in the resolve, but we want it to be in the whereas, basically. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. It doesn't say whereas, but that's essentially what that
Yes.
section is. It's a whereas.
But number 1 has 4 subpoints.
Yeah, but he's saying we're missing the 5th.
Number 1 on the first resolution has 5 points, but number 1 point has 4 subpoints.
Yeah, that's all of those. Oh,
You
I
want-
got
yeah.
you, yes.
You want all of that in?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
We want it to read just like it does in.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's how it's been, and.
It's
what's-
publicized everywhere that way and everything.
Yep, and
Okay.
that's what we've been working under.
So that would go back, that would be number 1, which means that all of these other numbers would be changed to 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yes.
Yes.
So we're going to amend
It's,
that.
it's just the way it is over here,
Okay.
as it's been printed in the tidings.
Okay.
We could just move, the conference exists,
To complete
you know.
paragraph 7 to read the same as what this actual stated purpose of the conference is.
Yes.
Okay.
And that then we're going to no longer function, and again, the way it was phrased in the other one, we could pick it up if we wanted to. But it said, be it further resolved that with the retirement of function 1, oh no, it said, that's in the next, never mind. And then I do want to add the other resolve that I want to add after the be opened up to all members, branches, is to include, be further resolved that in the interim, the work of the conference towards coordinating ministry and the following shall be maintained.
Okay, so the first resolve that you mentioned,
Was to basically say that we're opening it up to all members of recognized branches. And again, I'm not sure what that means, but, I think I did add that. Guys, I am so sorry that I'm butchering this.
so are you wanting to add a resolve to remove what we just added in? Is that what you're wanting to do? A new resolve, or are we changing a resolve?
I think what he's saying is that this resolve would go into this.
So just add a be it further resolved? Okay.
That's what I'm getting out of that.
So here's what I want to do, if you guys will bear with me. So I would like to take the therefore be it resolved from the first resolution on down through the 9 points.
Well, that's the revised one. That one.
Drop the name change out of it for now.
Mark, can you pull up so everybody can see what we're talking about? Because we're talking about moving whereas for the
Yeah, it might be easier to do it the other way around in terms of just moving a substitute motion and then working with it to incorporate from this one the intent over.
So is that what you want to move a
Let
substitute
me
motion?
just do that. And I apologize to the body for this convoluted process. I'm trying to get both, but let's just, I would move that we substitute the motion from Quorum 3 for consideration at this point.
So that's the one that's revised and approved by Quorum 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a substitute motion to bring the revised by Quorum 3, Resolution 1, to the floor. Do we have a second? We have a second.
So I apologize for all the confusion, and I would like to amend that at this point,
Okay.
that the name change be struck for now, and we can have a discussion about that.
So you just want to do that as one amendment and discuss that? Or do you want to do more than
Let
one
me
amendment?
do a few,
Okay.
yeah.
So name change that's on the back of that page, the be it further resolved?
Oh, yes, we have to vote on the substitute, yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
apologize.
Okay. We have to vote to bring it to the floor, is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
the substitute.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to bring the substitute to the floor. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor? All opposed? We have a 13-6 vote to bring the substitute to the floor. Yeah. Is there any opposition to calling this substitute Resolution 3 rather than revised by Quorum 3?
Which would be this one, right?
This should be a substitute.
It's a substitute now. Yeah.
The minutes, I wanted to call it something other than the Resolution 1 revised by Quorum 3. I just, for the sake of simplicity.
Anybody opposed to that? Just calling it? Okay, just like we did with the other one, we called it, instead of substitute, we called it Resolution 2. That's fine, Jason. Thank you.
I'll make a note so that it's clear.
Okay. Did you have a point of order or something? Because he was, okay.
I see where Vim's going, and as I look at this, I think that if you look at the front page of the number 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think we can strike the first 4 or 5 whereases, because historical, we know all of those things have been ingrained into the fiber of the elders conference. I think we can make this a lot simpler if we start at the bottom where it says, whereas some confusion has developed among the saints concerning the identity and the purpose of CRE, and move on from there. Everything above that can be struck, with the exception of the first those 5 things that Vim wants in. I think they're necessary for that one resolve to be struck from the record. But the rest of that, I think, can be struck from this, because it's just a matter of history. And
So are you moving that?
Are you moving that amendment?
I am.
Okay, so you're moving, go ahead and state it.
I am suggesting, with the exception of the conference exists, those 5 things, that we strike all of the whereases, the first 1, 2, down to the next to the last whereas, start the resolution, whereas some confusion has developed among the saints concerning the identity and purpose of the CRE. Everything above that, with the exception of those 5 points, can be struck.
So you're talking about the first ones too, Jake?
Huh?
First 2.
First 2 as well.
So you're talking about removing, so you want to remove the first, second, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th whereases.
Can we keep the first 2 in there, because it sets the purpose of the organization?
Okay. Let me see. All right, we can keep those 2, but I think it says the conference is not the church. The recent years, the conference has experienced diminished participation. The several factors and the function most closely those 4 definitely can be removed.
So your motion is to remove 4, 5, 6, and 7
Yes.
whereases.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second? So seconded. Any discussion? Show of hands in approval to amend the whereases. Any online? All opposed? Keep them up again. I saw some hands move. So the amendment passes 9-6. Brother Vim, you had amendments to this. Is that correct? I thought you were about.
That one, was that approved or failed?
It passed. It was approved 9-6. It passes 9-6.
So again, not to get caught up with the name issues, I would just drop the thing with the name, and we'll have to struggle with that or at some point. And then I would like to insert, be it further resolved that all future conferences of this organization be opened up to all members of restoration branches who are not affiliated with any organization beyond the branch level. It is in there. I was just trying to see if it was different from it doesn't state that all future conferences of this organization, which I think is one of the things we all agreed on, So, be it further resolved that all future conferences of this organization be open to all members of restoration branches who are not affiliated with any organization operating beyond the branch level.
You might want to rename the, next to the last paragraph, the acronym RMAC to the organization.
The acronym shows up 1, 2, yeah, several times. 3, 4, 5.
The other thing that shows up consistently is association. That has, when you take the RMAC out, the association needs to be removed as well.
So, Brother Vim,
However it works
So you wanna-
from a grammatical piece until we name the organization,
so
protect this.
you want to remove every association and RMAC and everything that, is that what you're saying in your amendment?
Under the organization, is that how people want to refer to it for now?
I would take association out anytime it's mentioned.
Yeah, we also have Restoration Ministries. So protect and steward the financial assets and income of the CRE under, see, we don't have a name for it under the reorganized group, or how do you guys want to frame it?
Just period after CRE.
But we're protecting it under a new organization, a reorganized organization.
So we don't know what that organization is.
What it's going to be called, yes. Continue those councils for the organization and coordination of the new organization, including, let's just say, the restructured organization. Insert restructured organization wherever it says RMAC.
And also wherever it says association.
Yeah, just restructured. And then after the change, which incorporates the language from the other in terms of organization open to all members of that one, then the rest of them remain the same with the changes of the RMAC out of there, restructured. Is there a second to that convoluted?
So for clarity, again, you want to remove Restoration Ministry Associative Councils? Or are you removing that whole resolve? Removing the name itself and
Yes.
adding restructured organization? Is that, okay.
And I do apologize, brothers, for this lengthy. Yeah,
And then that would include removing any reference to that throughout the rest of the resolution.
right.
And later, we're gonna go back to name that, right?
At some point, whether, yeah, if someone wants to move that, I'm just not going to do that, right?
So your motion to amend is to remove the name? Wherever it appears.
For now, yes.
Okay. Replace it with the restructured organization?
Right.
Okay, is that all that's in your amendment, or was there more than that?
Well, there's a lot of things. Yeah, be it, and then, you know, we're basically saying that we're going to be a member, like I said
So,
earlier.
that's right, adding the, be it
We
further
already have
resolved.
that, and I think Jason probably has that. And then I'm just saying, everything, underneath the 9 points, just keep with taking out the reference to the name. And put in, got it?
Okay, yep.
And is there a second?
Do I have a second for that? Yes, so seconded.
I think I've taken up enough time.
Do we have any discussion on this amendment, Brother Doug?
So we've said that nobody can vote if they're associated with a group that has organization above the branch level, and then we're organizing above the branch level. So we're eliminating ourselves from voting at the next conference.
Thank you, Brother Doug. Anyone else? He said, so we're saying that nobody can participate, nobody can vote if they have organized beyond the branch level, and so excluding us from voting because we're organizing beyond the branch level. Excluding ourselves in our own resolution is what, that's what he was saying, so. So, do you want to explain it, Doug, Brother Doug?
So if the wording is branches that have not organized above the branch level are the recognized branches, and we are in the process of organizing above the branch level, then technically we would not be able to vote at our next conference. I think so.
I think the difference is, from my perspective, Brother Doug, is that we're talking about restoration branches that have affiliated with other, so individuals that are members of restoration branches that have affiliated with another organization are not eligible. Those of us that are still part of restoration branches that are not affiliated with another organization are fine to be part of this organization. Does that make sense? And if there's a better, clearer way to frame it.
It does make sense, but to me that gets us into the whole issue of organization, fine, as long as it's my organization. And if you're not in my organization, then you're out. And that, to me, is leading to more division. I'm not sure how to square that idea. I mean, somehow we have to come up with who can be a part of it. But when we say our organization is good, your organization is bad, then people that don't like organization or our organization are going to be, and we're slicing and dicing the pie again, and I'm not really in favor of that.
So if I may, the discussion right now should be limited to the amendment. So that's not part of the amendment because it's already in there.
No, we just added it to recognize branches. Part of what he just added was amendment.
No, it's already in the resolution, isn't it?
No, but what he added was.
Did I miss part of the amendment? Okay.
Or maybe you can read it. I'm having trouble reading my own handwriting here, but conference, further resolve that this conference to be opened up to all branches who have not affiliated with any organization above the branch level.
So I have that already in this resolution.
That's what he just added to this resolution.
No, it's already there.
I think
So the previous, he amended that in the previous, and then
part of the
we're working
previous
on the
one.
substitute now, which already has that in it.
Okay.
So it has
So-
that phrasing twice.
Okay.
It has it about, in relation to members who can associate.
Right.
And then it also has it in terms of leadership.
Right. But it's already in the resolution. It's not part of the amendment that we're discussing.
They took away my microphone, probably wisdom.
Take it away from
This
me.
is talking about leadership. association councils. He added a second one that reads very similarly.
Oh, okay.
To cover who can participate as a member.
I see what you're saying. Okay. So adding the who can participate. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm with you. So, okay. Sorry, guys.
Just so I understand better, when I look at that, right now is the way the conference is structured. We have guidelines in order to seat elders, right? And so we certify the elders based on those guidelines. Why wouldn't we use those guidelines for branches? I think that's what we're kind of in our mind saying when we say recognize or registered, whatever word you want to use. There's going to be some kind of a certification process that we already do every year when we have conference.
Thank you.
Agreed. We have credentialing process in place, but that's for individuals. Now we're talking about certifying branches instead. Does that require an update to our credentialing? Or do we just go back to changing the word to recognize? We had quite a discussion about this word in our quorum, and we thought that recognize left open the possibility that we could generate a list of branches that are recognized. And it could include Community of Christ branches that are maintaining the original beliefs.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? So do we have everything on this copy up here on the screen? All of the amendment?
Which one?
The amendment we're currently working on, do we have that on the screen?
We didn't catch all the changes.
Okay. Yes, that's what we're working on. And we struck 4 whereases. And that's already been voted on, so remove the name. And we need to do that in all of the bullet points also. We could clean it up later. But we know that we're voting to whether or not to remove the name, reference to the name. So scroll down some.
So you remove the name and put what, their restructured organization? Is that what we were doing, like up here?
Yes. We can do that later.
Okay.
Scroll down to the resolves. We added that.
What was that?
A strike association.
Association. You don't want that to be the unnamed future organization.
And then And then there was a be it further resolved added to identify the members that would participate. That's the one I missed. Brother Vam, can you restate that resolve for them so they can hear it?
Not sure I can.
I have it. It's similar to the other one dealing with this, but, and Vim, you can correct me if it doesn't sound right, but what I have is be it further resolved that all future conferences of this organization be open to all members of restoration branches which are not affiliated with any organization operating beyond the branch level. Beyond
Yeah.
Does that capture all of the amendment? Okay, so we see the amendment on the screen. Yes.
Just a small thing, I think from should be of, I think it's probably just a typo.
Thank you. So this amendment has been moved. We need a second. Okay. I've lost track of time. So it's been moved and seconded. Do we have any further discussion on this amendment? Brother Doug, did you want to make an amendment to the amendment? You had a problem with it? Or did you just want to voice your opinion? Okay.
I would like to have a substitute to this, keeping everything else in place, but removing, let me go back over here. So I would like to take the resolves and be it resolved that the Conference of Restoration Elders meet at quarterly sessions instead of 1 week per year, and be it resolved that the elders and coordinating council reach out to branches and missions of the church to determine what course of action they desire regarding having a representative conference and what they perceive the conference role should be in bringing about greater unity among the branches.
What's resolution 4?
It's written as resolution 4, but I'm using it as I'm going to substitute it as a substitute resolution. Amending.
So a substitute amendment, is that what you're saying?
He's just offering an amendment to this substitution.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so, but we still have an amendment on the floor that,
Yeah.
so we need to deal with
I'm
that.
amending the amendment.
You're amending the amendment? Okay.
Right.
You're adding your amendment to his amendment?
Right, because
Okay.
my amendment wipes out most of everything else that was said. I don't know. So what we're substituting is we're taking out all the conference toward coordinating ministry following be maintained, taking out the resolve the conference meet annually, consider organizational member ideas, and so what I'm trying to get at here is that we don't even know if there are branches and people who are interested in doing this. And for us to eliminate the RC and say, our next conference is going to be this, without having any input from the people that we're expecting or we're wanting to come in, I think is perhaps premature. And maybe what we need to do is to go out to those branches and the people and say, this is what we as a conference would like to see happen. I'm totally in agreement with everything that we've said. I'm just not sure that we have a bunch of people or branches who are at the point where they want to do this, or whether they think it would be helpful for them as a branch to do this. We do, but I don't think we can legislate what the branches and people are going to do. And so what my thought is that instead of waiting for another conference, if we make our Conference of Restoration Elders a quarterly, at least quarterly meeting, so we just meet every 2-3 months. That way, if things happen, we can move quickly on it, and we don't have to wait for a whole year in between. It also means that the conference then is relevant throughout the whole year. It's not something that just meets for once a year and then we don't have any relevance beyond that. And then that we go out into the branches and ask them if this is something that they're interested in doing. And If the answer is yes, then we can move forward quickly because we'll be meeting as our conference will be, the Conference of Restoration Elders will be meeting every quarter. So when we get the results back, if it's yes, then we can get forward with it. If we go out there and all the branches discuss it and talk about it and say, that's irrelevant to us, we don't think that the RCE has anything to do with our branch, and we don't want to make this pledge, we don't want to do anything beyond that, then if there's nobody that wants to do it, then we can still do it, but at least we'll know what we're doing when we do it. So
your amendment to the amendment is to remove all of the resolves and add in what's labeled here as Resolution 4. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Are you keeping, we've already passed that.
Yeah. So
we don't have a second yet. So your
Yeah.
motion is to strike all of the be it resolved and add in what's labeled as Resolution 4.
Right.
So do we have a second? So seconded. Any discussion?
So last night I was talking to my son who came to the service, and he said, what's going on at the conference? And I said, hey, we're looking at opening up the conference to having everybody vote. And he looked at me and said, who's going to come? And I didn't have an answer. And that really got my mind thinking, maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves. And again, I'm totally for both of the resolutions that we talked about, but I think we need to get the communication going. We need to be out in the branches. We need to be talking to people. We need to be sharing what our vision is and seeing if there's any vision out there of people who are interested in doing what we're talking about. And if they feel like that would be helpful for them in their work in the kingdom. And if it is, then let's move forward with it. But to go ahead and do it and then take it out to the branches with as much as we've noted here, all the miscommunication, we can't even come up with a name because people are going to think that we're starting a church. So I really think that it would be good for us to get that information in first and then make the decision. But I do think that we need to be meeting more often, not just waiting every year to see what's going to happen, but meeting more often as the Conference of Restoration Elders, and then moving from there.
Thank you, Brother Doug. Dad?
Just a question, Doug. If we approve this substitute motion, then it's going to invalidate everything else. Can we just table everything prior to this point, approve this and go forward, and then at such time as we get buy-in, we can pull this out and finish our discussion on it?
So you're asking if we can table what this is substituting for?
Right. Instead of make this a substitute motion for the entire thing, not a substitute amendment.
He's
right.
amending the amendment.
We're amending
So just have Resolution 4 as a standalone resolution?
Yeah, bring it in instead of the other. Table the other one. Does that accomplish what we want to accomplish?
So what you're asking is to substitute for the substitute amendment. And I'm going to need somebody with more knowledge than me to give an opinion.
I think you need to make another action, unfortunately, in order to do that. Because right now, what's before that, so we don't get too confused. I've confused things, we're just confused. So we're already here with an amendment to the amendment. And I think the chair, usually I don't let things go beyond 3. So we need to handle these things.
We need to handle the amendment to the amendment before we can do anything
else. And then
certainly,
the intent of this can be brought back up as a separate item too. If it doesn't pass now, we could still consider it later.
Okay. So we need to deal with the amendment to the amendment, whether we want to add the language of Resolution 4 to replace all of the resolves of the substitute motion. That's been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Yes. Okay.
When the Ammonites, the anti-Nephi Lehi's, were fleeing from the Lamanites, and Ammon and his group and them, they met up with Alma, quite miraculously, I think. But anyway, they met up with Alma, and Alma, before bringing them over, went back to his people, and the chief judge, they didn't come with an idea. They went to the people, the chief judge and Alma went to the Nephites and shared with them all of the things that had happened. And they sent a proclamation, this is in Alma 15:22, they sent a proclamation throughout all the land, desiring the voice of the people concerning the admitting of their brethren who were the people of anti-Nephi Lehi. And it strikes me that they didn't take a proposal to the people, let's give them the land of Jershon, or let's do whatever with them. They simply asked, what is your desire? And they came back with three things. Let's give them the land of Jershon. Let's provide an army to guard them and protect them, and let's ask them for support for that army. And I like this, number 4, for that reason. It's not stated. What one of the things Doug said was, let's tell them what we're thinking, and I would prefer just to go to them, and this doesn't say one way or the other, so I'm okay with it, but I'd prefer just to go to them, to the branches, to the people, and say, what is your desire? Just exactly what it says there, without bringing any of, well, this is what we thought might be good. But anyway, I'm in favor of this. However it works out, I guess I won't complain too loudly. But I did want to say I think there's wisdom in, and we're talking about involving the membership in a more real and strategic and tangible way. I think involving them in whether they want to be involved and involving them in how that involvement will look before we designate this is how you'll be involved and this is how it'll look. I think there's wisdom in that.
Thank you, Brother Jason. Brother Dale, and then Dan after Dale.
I agree we should take it to the congregations. And I wouldn't even call it a proposal, but I think they need something in hand to see what we're talking about. I think we could say, this is something we're considering doing. What is your opinion on this? But I think we need to have something that we've come up with that give them a starting point of what we're doing. So maybe I would just say, this is something we're considering. What is your opinion? At the congregation, come back and meet in 3 or 4 months. So they have at least something that they can say, well, we disagree with this part, so we have something in front of them. At least that's the way I would, if brought it to the branch, I'd like to have something in front of me.
Brother Dan.
More of a, more of a question, because I'm kind of lost in all this. So we're going to vote on this being added to the original.
Yes, of
Okay.
this replacing all of the resolves of the
Right,
substitute
okay.
motion.
So if we were to vote that down, then we could bring the motion to have this as the resolution and table the other one.
Yes. If this is an amendment to an amendment, if this is voted down, we'd go deal with the amendment.
And table it, and then we could deal with.
Can you table an amendment that's on the floor? Or would we have to deal with that amendment first? I'm asking as well.
The body can table what they want. But if we vote on this, then basically we've amended that initial thing, and so it would be not bringing this back up. It would be part of it already, so you wouldn't have to bring it back up. And then it's just, do we want to approve that amendment or consider that amendment? And then if we don't, that's when someone could say we want to just table this whole matter, and then at the end of the day, we won't have anything. It'll just be tabled. We won't have this either, because everything would be tabled. So
If we voted this amendment down,
then we go back to the original matter,
we could table that.
We'd go back to his amendment.
either table it or vote it down, either one.
And then it would go, so, once we table this, if we table the substitute, would it go back to the original resolution?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. It goes back to the, yeah.
Haven't we already approved the substitute resolution?
We've approved to bring it to the floor.
We
Yeah.
approved
We have-
bringing it
we're-
to the floor.
So what if we vote this down, we approve that amendment, and then we vote to substitute this for it? That way we have this one intact to table.
So what you want to do is have resolution 4 as a standalone resolution, is what you want?
Thought was what Mike was, that's what I
What
was
I-
asking. I was
Okay.
asking
Yeah.
if that was Doug's intent,
Yeah.
Okay.
to have that standalone.
I understand where we're at, that the amendments have to be voted on. But just as a point of information, what I would do at this point, with everything that is brought to the floor, I would vote down and then consider this as a separate resolution. That's what I would do if I was voting. That's what I would desire to do. Because I think there's some wisdom in expediency here, in that we would be in a better position as a conference to move on the desires of those branches that associates with us. That's all I'm.
Brother Danny Height?
Well, I admire you brothers that understand what's going on. I'm way too slow. You have lost me, and I'm not saying that in any sense a negative way, but I do have a couple of things I think to me would be helpful. One, I pray that the desires that we have will reach much, much further than where we have already, we are designing the boundaries of what we determined who is qualified and who is recognized in terms of the saints, whether it be the restoration branches or those we have excluded to say it's beyond that, whatever that organization might be, which would be obviously the JCRB, the remnants, the Restoration LDS, the bridge branches, and others. But we have brothers and sisters out there everywhere that are have had experiences with the Lord, and I believe that they are desirous in His for His charity for us to come together. I would rather see this thing tabled for the time being, and you get the word out through a survey coordinated through the council here of all of the saints, that the parameters would be stretched beyond the restoration branches, but would be to all of these various groups. And let's get some input. And so in a period of time, let's do some listening and praying for them. But I think that we need to have a survey of some sort that goes out, possibly through tidings or however that direct survey might be, that is the same, we're saying the same thing, we're asking the same questions. Because if we come out here and say, well, we're gonna listen, then we're gonna have all different ways that it's stated, and I think it's going to increase confusion. And so once let's let the saints know, number one, that we love them much, much beyond even the branches here. We have got to come together, and it's just been, I know it's been on our heart for a long time. But I think a survey would be helpful, and then we can come back together and have some understanding and be able to move forward in this. And I don't even know anything about Robert's Rules of Order, but this is my least favorite of everything I do in the church. I just really don't like business meetings. But anyway, I wanted to share that.
Thank you, Brother Danny. Brother Benji, and then Brother Bob.
Elder Benji Pedersen, can't agree with you more, Danny. I think the path forward, and I want to speak I want to speak against the amendment so that we can table the other one, so that we can bring this up on its own and pass it. So I'm going to speak that way, and I don't know how we need to do this, but the idea of reconciliation has still been on my heart, and this gives us an opportunity to go and seek reconciliation, seek desires of where they are, try to build some momentum of prosecuting the missionary work together. And so I like the idea of going to the different groups that might be interested in even talking with us and saying, what could we do? How could we move forward closer together? How could we do a better job of the missionary work together? So, I mean, I like the idea of tabling the other one so we keep it where it was, all the work that had been done in case we want to come back to that. But I really like to see this one go forward.
Thank you, Brother Benji. Brother Bob?
I don't know if this would apply here, but I think we know that the Lord is not the author of confusion. And I think we're pretty close to that point at this moment.
Thank you. If there's no opposition, I'd like to end the debate on this amendment to the amendment and call for a vote. So, one opposition.
Sorry, no opposition. I just have a question because I don't know the answer to this. Just from a procedure standpoint, if we vote this down so that we can table the other amendments, my understanding is a resolution could not be brought forth to the floor except through a quorum. So would the intent then be a motion for it could be?
No, a motion parallel to that could be.
Okay. So there is a mechanism that will allow us to do that without going out and coming back in. Okay, that was my question.
Thank you. So again, if there's no opposition, we'll end the debate on the amendment to the amendment and call for a vote. All in favor of the amendment to the amendment? Any opposition? Don't go too fast. Okay.
Any opposition?
Yeah. Now, anybody raise your hand in favor of the amendment to the amendment? Okay, all opposed? All right. The amendment to the amendment fails with no approving vote. So now we have, I'm sorry, online. So now we have Brother Vim's original amendment on the floor. We have a motion from Brother Doug to table the amendment. A second. Any discussion?
Yeah, just generally, it's given a time frame for tabling. So if it's indefinite, I mean, I think, are you wanting to table it indefinitely, Doug, for at this point?
Until we have a chance to bring it up.
Yeah, and then someone can bring it back up at some point.
So it'd be
So
indefinite.
say indefinitely, because like the other one was tabled to the
Okay.
next session, so.
So indefinitely, is that what you want? Okay, and that's okay with you as the second? Okay. So motion to table Brother Vim's amendment, which would also table the substitute resolution indefinitely, is on the floor. It's been seconded. Do we have any discussion on the motion to table? On the substitute.
I just have a question, sorry.
Go ahead.
So we put this on the table, we can pull it back into debate at any time in the future without going through the whole process.
Brother Brian, what was your question?
What is being tabled? What substitute?
The
Jim's original.
Vim's original substitute. Yeah, number 3. Well, yeah, it hasn't been amended yet, but, well, it was once, but yeah, okay. So we're voting to table resolution number 3. Any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Online too. Opposed again, please. Raise your hands. So the motion to table carries 16-6. So the substitute motion has been tabled now. Does that automatically bring up the original motion? No? Oh, everything, the entire, from the first motion all the way through the amendment we were on is now tabled?
No, you didn't say that. You tabled.
Okay. So the substitute was tabled. That's what the motion to table was the substitute.
We never voted to actually substitute the original with this substitution. So we've tabled the debate on the substitute, now we're back to the original motion.
So the original motion by Brother Brian is still on the floor. Okay?
I don't agree, but that's right.
Okay, well, we can take an action to table this one if you'd like. I'm not telling you what to do, but just, if that's what you want to do, we can clean it up that way.
My understanding, when we tabled it, we tabled the matter, which started with the original, and then we went through the sequence. So it tabled the amendment, it tabled the original, it tabled, I think, where we started. So from my perspective, the whole matter was tabled.
So that was not clearly stated, and that's probably my fault. So can we undo that vote? Should undo that vote and redo the vote because that was not understood by everybody. It's probably my fault because I didn't restate it well enough. Is that something we can do? Somebody that voted for it can recall the vote if they wanted to, or we can leave it the way it is. Brother Doug?
I'd like to recall the vote.
Brother Doug wants to recall the vote. Do we have a second? We have a second. All in favor of recalling that last vote? Raise your hands. All opposed? And online? Can I see the opposition again here? Okay, that's what I thought. All right, so the vote has been recalled to 14-1. So, Brother Doug, would you like to restate your motion? Sorry, 2. I had 2 written down, but I had 1 online written down. 14-2.
So I don't want to have us not be able to talk about, I think we need a lot more discussion on this before we come to any terminal conclusion. My idea was that we were tabling the substitution, and that would take us back to the original, and then we could decide whether we wanted to table that one also or not. If we wanted to continue talking about that one, we can. But that was my intent. But I'll do whatever the body wants to.
Okay.
Whatever the body.
So Brother Doug's motion is to table the current, and that would leave the original motion on the floor. Okay, that's Brother Doug's motion right now. So a vote would bring us back to where we just were.
I have a point of order. Vim, can you help me on this? It's my understanding that when you start amending a resolution and you table, you drop everything. And you can't just pause part of the conversation and go back to the original. So if we're going to vote to table this, we table all the discussion on this original resolution, or we take up the parts that we're looking at and vote them up or down, or amend them. So I think it's just kind of confusing, but I think what we need to do is kind of stop where we are on that resolution, I think is what we were intending to do. So we would vote to table everything so we could come back to that if we want, and then we would take up Doug's resolution 4. That's my understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, and maybe
So-
Vim can help us figure out how to do that.
So,
Yeah, I think the language is you tabled the whole matter, and the matter started with the original resolution from Quorum 2, and then we moved through it. So for tabling the matter, it's the whole discussion, and then, so that gets tabled, and then we're ready for new business, and we can pull that other up whenever we want, but you have to move back down through the steps.
okay, so to table the matter would be everything going all the way back to Brian's original motion. Okay. Okay, so that's your motion, Doug, okay, and second from Dan. All right. All in favor of tabling the matter all the way back to Brian's original motion? Raise your hands. All opposed? Okay, thank you. Online? Motion to table carries 17-5. So the matter's been tabled. Have any other new business? It needs to be moved.
I would like to move what's labeled as Resolution 4 for our consideration now.
We have a motion to consider Resolution 4. Do we have a second? So seconded. Okay. We can now discuss Resolution 4. Brother Jay?
I believe Resolution 4 shows some wisdom. I believe that for any other action pursuant to those things that we've discussed up to this point has been a little bit pretentious in the fact that it doesn't allow us to seek from branches their opinion and their desires. And I also believe that this resolution allows us to move quickly when we understand what the desires of the branches are. Because if we are meeting on a quarterly basis rather than an annual basis, it gives us more mobility, and it also then forces our hand to be working as a conference throughout the year rather than just a single point in a year. So that's my support for Resolution 4.
Thank you, Brother Jay. Brother John? Yes, sir.
I believe before we can discuss this has to come back to the quorums, and the quorums have to bring it to the floor. Is that not correct?
That question was asked just a minute ago by Brother Sean, and the answer was that there's mechanism to bring it to the floor the way it was. But if we want to go back to quorums, if you want to do that, I don't.
The simple way to do this is not considered as a resolution, but considered as a motion from the floor to change the timing of the conference from annually to 4 times a year. Takes care of the whole issue.
So it becomes a motion rather than a resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Brother Rich?
I'm certainly not against this in principle, but I'm not sure how practical it is. When we think of quarterly conferences, that's not easy to pull off. And our mission is to go out into the world, not to just create more meetings. And so if we have decisions made at a quarterly conference that didn't have very many people attending, And there are others who would be upset by that decision because they wouldn't be able to make it. So that's what I'm getting at is you're not going to be able to answer those questions, but I put them out because a lot of times when we talk about something that sounds good, it doesn't work well in practicality. I would like to see this go back to the quorum for discussion. I think that if we make a decision right now without having thought through this sufficiently and had discussion and heard each other, I think that's not a good way to go.
Thank you.
Just a point of information, the last quarterly meeting that we had with the elders, we had many more elders in attendance than we do at this conference.
Brother Dale?
Seems to me like we're hard-hearted, stiff-necked bunch of people, and the Lord sees no reason to talk to us because we wouldn't accept it if He did.
Thank you, Brother Dale. Brother Richard, did you have an action that you wanted to take, or just expressing an opinion?
I expressed an opinion, but I would saying I would like to see it go forward.
Okay.
The members aren't invited to these quarterly meetings, are they?
Just the elders invited, have in the ones that we've had.
Until such time as we change.
But those are just meetings. Sorry, speaking out of turn. Explanation. Those are just meetings. If this is accepted, those would then become conferences where we can take action. The meetings, quarterly meetings now, there's no action that can be taken because they're just meetings.
If this goes back to the quorums, then I suggest that we move into quorums now, and the time remaining, discuss this within the quorums, if we're going to treat it as a resolution.
Okay. So is there opposition to moving into quorums right now? Okay. So let's do that for the remainder of this time. Let's take this to the quorums and discuss it. We do have a motion on the floor. Do we have to deal with that before we can do that? Do we have to table that? Question of order.
I thought we were moving on to quorums, but if we're not, but I wanted to take a point of privilege here and just ask forgiveness if, for whatever confusion I caused within the body. It certainly was not my intent in terms of my stumbling and, whatever I did to cause us to move to the levels that we were. I just want to ask your forgiveness and forbearance, and appreciate that. Thank you.
So is there any opposition to setting this aside and going to quorums to discuss it as a resolution and coming back for the rest of the time today and coming back to pick it up again tomorrow where it's labeled as quorum sessions? Do we want to make that a business session?
I move that we make tomorrow's quorum session a business session.
We have a motion to make tomorrow's quorum session a business session. Do we have a second? So seconded. All in favor? All opposed? All right, so moved, or so approved, rather. All right, let's move to our quorum session now to discuss.
Quorum 3 to the library.
Quorum 1's here.
There's two is in the gym.
Would you like for me to hand the mic?
Sure.